to our webinar on how to really be, first of all, the person you want to become in this whole transformation that we're going through in our journey of the Great Resignation, leadership, whether we're a business owner, a CEO, or a talent employee, right? We're all on this journey together. So thanks for being here. Love your insight. Let this be a conversation of learning and growth together, because we all have amazing wisdom, and we're excited that you are all here. So John, will you take like 20 seconds? Tell us where you are, who you are, what you're up to in the world, and where you are.
John Swanson. I'm in South Carolina, and I knew Deborah many years ago. We cycled together and raised money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I'm now an employee relations manager out here for a finance company in South Carolina. But I'm not on the beach.
But he is on a bike. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yep.
Reagan?
I'm Regan.
Regan,
sorry.
I knew that.
It's all good. I'm dreaming about being where John is, rather, and I can't take my eyes off the ocean and the.
I know.
I'm in Connecticut, and Deborah and I were.
Amber alert. Sorry.
And yeah, that's a little bit more important than
it's okay.
Amber alert in the middle of everything. Deborah and I were co-journeyers on during our in an MBA program, and I'm an executive coach, and just so thrilled to be with you and learn from you, as I always do.
Oh, thank you. I love that we're learning together. Elizabeth, you want to say?
I'm Elizabeth. I'm Deborah's assistant, her right-hand girl, and I'm here to walk you guys through what we're going to talk about today, and just kind of be here to be of support to you. Really quick, I kind of want to dive in and just give you a brief synopsis of what today's all about. So based on lots of articles we've read, everything we've pulled from, there's a record-breaking 10.9 million open jobs at the end of July of this year. 4.4 million people quit their jobs in September of this year alone. So really, we're here to talk about, how can employers retain people in the face of this tidal wave of resignations? This seems to be such a priority issue for nearly every employer right now. Some people are throwing money at the problem. Others are focusing on more pandemic-related psychological factors that kind of make their work more meaningful and sustainable. So addressing all of these issues causes we have to kind of understand the root problem. So that's kind of why we're here. We want you guys to talk with us. We want to hear your thoughts, kind of what you think. We want this to be an open forum for everyone. And we're so happy to have you. So welcome.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Do you want to read my bio?
Yeah. So a little bit about Deborah, as I'm sure you already know how fabulous she is. Deborah's genius is creating a clear vision for CEOs and their teams, making that vision a reality. With decades of C-level executive and team coaching, Deborah challenges leaders by inviting them to create a collaborative, vibrant, responsible, and joy-filled culture, which fosters highly desirable results. Her practice is shared in a diverse range of industries: high-tech, wealth management, engineering, healthcare, marketing, and more.
Thank you.
Let's rock.
Let's rock it. Okay.
Rock it.
So PS, I read somewhere yesterday or this weekend that the numbers are supposed to be even higher in October. They haven't been officially released for the resignation. So it's not going away. It's going to continue to climb. So yeah.
Okay. So Deborah, I want you to talk a little bit about how you believe we got here and why this conversation is important right now.
Mm-hmm. So this is my little pea brain belief, that we all created this together, unconsciously, meaning we have hidden beliefs that we've acted on, created our lives on, that we haven't been aware of. this is no blame or shame to anyone or to ourselves. This is just my story is how we got here. So when we went off to school, I'll just give you an example. When we went away to school, we were really told in our minds what success is, how to get an A, how to get to second grade, how to get to 12th grade, how to graduate, how to get into college, how to graduate from college, how to get the position we want somewhere. And we have just gone along with it. We have just been okay, and we're doing, and we become these amazing doers. Like we are known, our nation is known as this hugely successful doing country. Gosh, like what can't we do? We help everyone, we do everything, right? And we know that doing is very different than being, right? And so our parents fell into that and we just went along with it, right? So no blame or shame. So why do I think it's really awesome that we're at this point? It's because we're finally seeing that, wait a minute, this isn't working for me anymore. This strategy of like accomplishing and task managing and getting money for things I do, it only takes me so far. And if I don't have fulfillment, it's really, I'm dying inside. And that's where I think most of us have lived that life, right? And if you're like my age, 50, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, what have I created in my life? And when I work with CEOs who are, could be 50 or older, most of them are running this circle, this hamster wheel too, and they haven't stopped to question their belief system. And they believe their success is by doing more, but they're never fulfilled. And so I believe this stopping and pausing with the pandemic that has happened and the Great Resignation, we're looking at like, whoa, wait a minute, what is life about? Why am I here? What am I up to? Who am I called to be? And what do I most want to do? So I know that many people are leaving work. I'm sure you all have read this. They don't even have jobs. And it's not even that they're getting money from the government. They're leaving because they're tired of having these unfulfilled and even toxic cultures. So that's part of it.
Yes, I mean, there's a litany of reasons, obviously, behind what's going on. Shifts in workplace culture, salary demands, flexibility needs, pandemic awakenings. People have gone through this and been like, there's a different way I can live my life. I mean, there's so many reasons we can look at this. Prioritizing burnout, mental health, all of these things kind of play a factor. Regan and John, what do you all think? Like, do you agree with that? Or do you, in your experience, what have you encountered?
You're on mute, both of you.
Regan's coming on.
I will go yes to everything you're saying. And I think that, 2020 just brought an absolute reckoning for all of us, internal, external, between the racial injustice, our climate issues. I mean, it's just like a collision. We had a loneliness epidemic before, it's just this explosion of contexts like collapsing all around us. So it's kind of exciting, all the shifts that are possible and scary at the same time.
Yeah, thank you. And when our minds, so I know you all know that I work on consciousness. So when we are unaware, which is 96 to 98% of the time, our unconscious mind is running us, and it's the fearful part of our brain that's looking for what could go wrong, what is wrong, I'm wrong, you're wrong, defense, right? And so when we have something that comes up that we're not familiar with, our familiar brain pattern of what we've created in our life, and it's new, the brain's flipping out because it's like, wait a minute, I haven't done this before. I don't know what to do now. And so I know a lot of leaders are concerned because they have not had to navigate this before. They haven't had to navigate a pandemic, people leaving, difficulty in hiring talent, this amount of people leaving organizations nationwide, worldwide, right? And so our automatic natural response is to get into threat and fear. And the cool thing is that's not who we are. we have opportunity and ways to get beyond that, which is really awesome, which is what we can talk about later, a few tools to move past that, because it's just to know that that's normal and it doesn't have to be who we are, and we don't have to stay stuck. John, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, I'm not in a spot where I can actually talk freely.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it.
Typing my
Thank you.
stuff in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect.
Perfect.
Mhm.
So Deborah, in your experience over the last 3 decades working with CEOs, entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners, what do you feel is our way out of this?
Yeah. So I think it's to learn tools for yourself that bring you inner safety, because we have learned our whole life that success, like we said earlier, is that we've been told success is something earned, something from the outside. But what if it's really an internal thing? What if it's our perspective and what we want to focus on? What if it's about really learning our emotional intelligence and feeling our feelings all the way through, because we've been told the opposite. Don't feel your feelings, don't bring them to work, don't be real, don't be authentic. So what if it is like, whoa, I'm going to feel my feelings that I'm sad. I'm going to feel my feelings that I'm fearful and or anxious, because our feelings only last, if we feel them all the way through, up to 90 seconds. That's it. And there's tons of wisdom, as Dan Goleman has written about this in Harvard Business Review. So how do we start to just be real with ourselves, allow ourselves to have those emotions, and then just give ourselves a pause and wonder. I always ask 2 questions. What am I most afraid of? And what do I most want? Because those 2 things always go together. And I believe everyone is the answer to their own, what they want to create for themselves, to take radical responsibility for their thinking, which brings about our emotions, which brings about our belief system, which brings about our results. And like I said before, 96 to 98% of the time we're unaware of our thinking. So 96 to 90% of the time we're unconsciously creating what we don't want. So our results are our greatest teacher if we're willing to stop blaming or shaming ourselves and stop being victim to the environment or our boss or whatever it is. It's how do I take radical responsibility for how I want to live my life? What aligns with me? And how do I encourage others to do that by being an example of that? And also holding a space without judgment for someone. How do I support someone that they might have a different thought? They might want to live differently. How can I care for them as they make their own choices, right? And so we've had that, right? We know that we've had a lot of conflict in our dear country because there seems to be a right thought and a wrong thought. I get vaccinated or I don't get vaccinated. I believe in this or whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of controversy, right? And that comes from our right or wrong thinking, which is the fearful defensive mind. So my toss is, can we go beyond that? Can we get curious and be learners of each other, be learners of ourselves, be learners of the world? And how are we all for each other instead of against each other? How can we be for each other, right? And so that means, first of all, I need to love myself, which is what I find most CEOs, when I say that, they tell me, guys, this is really big. I don't know what that means.
This is a great, I'm sorry, Deborah, do you have something else?
Yeah, they say that I don't know what that means because we have unconsciously been taught that our worth is by doing and achieving and succeeding. And so this is why I think it's beautiful, is because people are starting to see, wait a minute, I am worth something more than doing. What is that? And what if I trusted my heart as to what lights me up? And how can I follow that path? And how can I support the other? What were you going to say, Elizabeth?
Oh, I was just going to say, I love what you're saying. This is a perfect transition into culture. I want you to shift to culture. Let's talk about the conversation around culture. What is it? I want you to tell us how we define it, why is it important, and then kind of what impacts culture in your workspace. Who's responsible for it? All of those things.
Yeah. So I have a little writing around here, so I can read this to you, which is what I had written. Culture is the character and personality of an organization. It's what makes our businesses unique. It's a sum of our values, our traditions, our beliefs, our interactions with each other, our behaviors, and our attitudes. It's a sensed feeling. right? You can sense how an environment is, a culture is, as soon as you walk in. You might not even know the people there. A thriving workplace culture attracts talent, drives engagement, impacts joy, hones purpose and satisfaction, which affects performance. Unfortunately, I don't know very many cultures like this. The biggest mistake organizations make is letting their workplace culture form naturally without first defining what they want it to be. Learning how to have intention, an intentional culture is a reality must right now. How to make it a practice and becoming that culture of trust and learning and love and safety for each other. And going beyond the hidden barriers, the hidden thoughts that we have that keep us small. Because when we're driven by success and scarcity, it's felt in our culture. So how do we create intention versus just having reactivity around that? Let's see, what else did I put? No.
Great. So kind of circling back to what we talked about earlier with the pandemic, all of this that's been going on since 2020, this is also unexpected. How do we now turn this around? How do we move forward? How do we experience this as an opportunity instead of a threat? Kind of, I liked what Regan said earlier about how she's excited, she's inspired by the changes. You know, how do we capitalize on being hopeful and avoid the stress and the anxiety of all that's happened to our world?
Mm-hmm. Regan, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, you just, we have such resonance. So pretty much everything that you say, I'm just going, yes, 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 yes. And actually in 2020, Elizabeth, the acronym that I lived by is what I called OITC, looking for the opportunity in the crisis, right? Because that was our opportunity for the reframe. And I think that all we're in control of is our own attitude and responsiveness to the environment. And I love the words about intentional culture. And there's so much that I agree with. And I think that the discourse around us is telling us all these things, and we're subconsciously, not even aware of the narratives that we're assuming. So I think that I love that you're always about making it conscious and inviting us to be with it and focus on the being. So thank you.
Thank you. I think, John, are you chatting? Let me see what he's saying.
We're chatting. He's sharing his thoughts with me in the chat.
Okay.
You can see him.
Our CEO resigned. Yeah, so this is a great, I just think it's a great opportunity, guys, for each of us. My 3 lanes, you guys have heard me say this or written it, I've written before, and it's recently been posted, the 3 lanes, right? My lane, your lane, God or the universe's lane. What a great opportunity to stand in our lane, to really know what I'm thinking, what I want to think, right? Just be present to what am I telling myself? Do I want to believe that thought? If I don't want to believe that thought, if it's not loving and kind and serving me, pretty much the opposite of what we're telling ourselves is the thought to take on. It's a Byron Katie trick. It's how could the opposite be just as true or truer than the thought that's causing me to have suffering? And when I say suffering, that means not having peace and joy. When we don't have peace and joy, it's because we're believing our story unconsciously. And so it's an opportunity for us all to look at, whoa, what am I believing here? To take a pause and look at what I'm believing, take a few deep breaths. I always say, take 3 deep belly breaths, give yourself some space, feel your feelings all the way through, and then allow the other person to be in their lane. Whenever we want someone else to change or a situation to change, we feel disempowered because we can't change someone's thinking, we can't change their feelings, we certainly can't change their actions. So When we start to do that, we notice we're in control, and that's a fear state. So when we notice we're in a fear state, come back to your breath, take 3 deep breaths, go walk around your office, go walk outside, get away from the situation, and come back to yourself.
Mhm.
And then I would say usually when we're in future, we're in fear, because the brain can't know what's going to happen. You guys know this. And so when we're in the future, it starts to come up with all these stories. Well, what if this? And what if I don't have enough work? And what if this person doesn't answer me the way I want? Like all these stories, again, they're negative thinking. We're going to get anxious. So notice to come back to presence. And the only thing that's really, really present in you is your breath. So coming back to your breath and just staying with your breath and staying in your lane. And then just notice when you get outside of your lane, notice when you get in someone else's lane, not your place to control, or certainly not when you start to think about the universe, God, the biggerness of it all. And my toss to you all is to consider, which I said earlier, I'm just going to say it again. So the 3 lanes, my lane, your lane, God, the universe's lane. When you are in the space that you can take control, you start to feel empowered. What do I want to think? How do I want to feel? What action most aligns with me, with my head, heart, and gut if I take a pause? And what's the very, very next step I have a whole yes to taking? And we take just that very next step, because our steps, moment by moment by moment, create our hour, our day, our week, our month, our year. But we got to be aware of our decision making. And most of the time we're not aware of our decision making. And we already said they're going to be reactive decision making thoughts. So because we do that, we're going to get a result we don't want. So every time we get a result we don't want, it's always our teacher. Oh, I must have been asleep at the switch. Let me learn from this. What can I learn? So just remember, what lane are you in? My lane, your lane, God, the universe's lane. Come back to your breath, question your thinking, and hold a space of love for yourself, which means feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
We heal by feeling our feelings and allow someone else to be in their lane. If they want to drive a crazy car and drive all whatever, whatever they're doing, that's okay. We can't control them. We can only be responsible for ourselves and let them love them, whatever they're doing. All we can do is send love to them. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Deborah, we have about 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
Do you want to open up for the discussion? How would you like to close?
Yeah, John, I think you said you really can't talk there, but if there is anything you want to say and can't say, we'd love to hear from you.
He's typing.
Okay.
No, I think John brings up a great point too. We talk a lot about employees that are leaving, management that are leaving, CEOs, the head of companies are also leaving. This is affecting everybody, not just, the people working for people. It's everybody, people leading the people too. So it's everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to look at how can we create a win-win situation, right? Most organizations, most relationships, whether it's a husband and wife, a friend, we unconsciously, when we're in a reactive state, not present to ourselves, we're looking for a win-lose, a right state. How am I right and how are they wrong? So I want to toss you a friendly thought is how can I create a win-win solution here? What's a win for me? What's a win for you? What's a win for the organization? Am I open and hearing? Would I be open and willing to hear what other people have to say? And even notice when I'm afraid to hear what someone has to say. It's normal to be afraid, but take a few deep breaths and accept that you're afraid. Your fear doesn't have to drive you. Toxic fear cultures are because we don't allow the fear to teach us. We just keep it pushed down and we try to work around it. And guess what? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and uglier and uglier and uglier, right? So being the change yourself is all you can do, and it's everything you can do.
Transparency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Regan, anything you would like to say?
I just love what you're saying, and neuroscience proves out everything that you're saying. And when we're with our feelings and we name them and we honor them, and it gives us a space to be them, and it gets us into that responsive state. And I just love how you said that, whose responsibility is culture. And when you go to that, it's only we can deal with our inner safety, right? How I feel about sort of psychological safety, we like to put it on the leader, we like to put it on the culture. And it's really, it starts with us, with our breath, with yoga, as John says, with feeling the feelings, with being in our lane. So I just appreciate all that you're sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to toss this out to you guys before we close. A couple of things, and I know Elizabeth's going to help me to remember some of these things. So one, at the end of this month and for next month in December, I'm going to be putting together, so stay tuned, an hour free setting purpose-filled goals, purpose-filled for yourself for 2022. Because usually what do we normally do, guys, every year?
We make goals and then we don't follow through.
We make goals and we don't follow through. Why is that? Who knows? John, why don't we follow through?
Lack of attention to the daily steps to get there is what he says.
That's part of it. The big part of it is, Regan, do you know why?
I think there's multiple reasons. I think that we can get into decision fatigue, willpower fatigue. We can get into all sorts of reasons. So I don't think there's only one answer. I'd like to hear yours.
Okay. So the reason that we don't fulfill our goals is because they're made typically out of fear. Scarcity breeds scarcity. And our motivation is out of fear. I got to look a certain way, so I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Where is usually that? I'm just making up a story here. Where is someone's security when they're telling themselves that? Outside of themselves, typically, right? And so many times we're making our decisions out of someone else's approval, a physical thing, money. I got to have enough money to be okay. Well, what does that really mean? Right? So first of all, it's like, can we set purpose goals as to what lights our heart on fire? Who are we called to be? And would we make our goals from that place with joy and excitement and energy of, yes, this is what I most want, versus, yeah, well, I think I should do this, or I better do this, or I have to do this. Very different motivation. Very different motivation. So my want for us is to discover how most of our life we've made all these goals, and some of them we fulfilled, probably but with a lot of effort and sweat and tears to get there. And how could we create purpose-filled goals that expand our heart, bring us more joy, inspire others, impact the world? That's what I want for people. Because you are created like no one else. Everyone is. And we have a meaning to give to the world. You have meaning for yourself. So let's have meaningful purpose, meaningful goals. And let's discover how we want to bring impact for ourselves, for our relationships, for our work, for the world, spiritually, physically. I really want to get to that so that we are all creating purpose together and we inspire each other.
And what we talked about yesterday, Deborah, the realistic goals too. Like, don't set goals for yourself that it's not realistic, right? Setting yourself up to fail right off the bat, that doesn't solve anything, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Yay.
So, okay, do you want to share with everyone your thought about our group that we're putting together?
Yes. Okay. Perfect timing. So we are launching December 1, Facebook and LinkedIn. We are launching groups, and you can give us your consent if you'd like to be included. These are just the people that have attended our webinars. It's just the webinar people. We will be connecting you all to each other. And this is to start in 2022 so that you all can talk to each other, ask questions. It's basically an online forum for everyone who's interested in continuing this conversation with each other, with Deborah, just an open space to write your thoughts, share your thoughts, communicate openly. But it is a private, so it'll be a private closed group that only the people in the group can see what's happening. So John, I know you're sometimes worried about what you're saying. So if that's of interest to you, it will be a private group.
So yeah, so thank you. So it would be a place too for potential talent. If you're looking to bring in talent or help, or you might want to join an organization. Like I want it to be full circle that we serve each other around our whole yes in life and work, and creating this together and how we inspire and collaborate together. Any thoughts, questions? Oh, do you want to, are we going to connect them on link, on email or anything like we did prior people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Since it's just the two of them today, I'm going to actually loop them in on the big email I have going out.
Okay.
So you all can get connected with everybody else that we've been talking with. You'll have their email addresses. Everybody else has given us the okay. And again, this list of people is just those that have attended or registered for our webinar. So it's just the group of people.
And if you don't want that, let Elizabeth
if you
know
don't
that
want
you
it,
don't want
it's okay. But I will be sending an email just connecting you all to each other.
Yeah. And so we're going to continue to have these conversations
every 2 weeks. We
So
are skipping, though. There's a break between Christmas and New Year's. We'll come back after New Year's and stop before Christmas, but it'll be roughly every 2 weeks again, starting in January.
Yeah. So if you guys know anyone who would like to be a part of this conversation, anyone who's a leader, anyone who's looking for work, anyone who wants to be the change, anyone who's wants to grow personally, professionally, please invite them to our time together. And if you have any questions too, always reach out to me in between. Any last thoughts before we hang up, guys?
Joining us. I just love how you anchored us the last part about making goals not from fear and must and should and have tos, and rather from wants. And I think that's just always such a good reminder that I think we often lose sight of. We're so busy shoulding on ourselves.
Yes.
So guys, one more thought before we hop off. I just want to let you all know, since we're doing these every 2 weeks, there's different people every time. Deborah and I talk about roughly the same things, but the conversation's always different because everybody has their own thoughts, and we're talking about, different perspectives and different angles and different solutions with each other. So no one is alike. So please feel free to hop on and join us again as many times as you want. If you want to come every time, we'd love to see you. Just as your schedule allows at your convenience. So.
Yeah, good reminder. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah. So guys, remember, when we're unconscious, which is 96-90% of the time, you're in fear. Give yourself a breath. I'm just friendly reminder before we hang up. Give yourself some love to yourself as you're breathing. And think about, if I could create whatever I want, what is it? What does my heart want? And take that very next step. Okay. Fear will say, no, you can't. Don't do it. You step forward.
Yes.
With love and fear. Fear won't go away. Fear is always going to be there, but give yourself love and step forward anyway. That's how you give more capacity to yourself for accepting the fear, is that you cover it with love and you step forward. Okay. So I want to say.
Yay.
Thank you all.
Thank you both so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And to you.
Thank you.
Bye, Regan.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, honey.